In the quiet stillness of a world where dreams are as real as the stars above, a faint melody drifts through the night, a song so ancient it seems to hum within the very fabric of the cosmos. This is no ordinary tune. It's the Celestial Symphony, a melody said to hold the power to heal the broken dreams of an entire people. Yet, for centuries, it has been little more than a whisper, a fading echo lost among the stars. Until now, Lyra, a young dreamweaver with a heart as boundless as the sky, hears it for the first time, a soft, haunting note that stirs something deep within her. She doesn't yet know it, but this moment will change everything. The symphony isn't just a song, it's a call, a summons to a journey that will take her far beyond the safety of her world. Across cosmic realms, through trials that will test her courage and her resolve, Lyra must uncover the secrets of the symphony before it's silenced forever. But she's not alone in this quest. Forces darker than the void itself are watching, waiting, determined to ensure the symphony never awakens. For if it does, it could mend the fractured dreams of countless lives, or shatter them completely. The fate of dreamers everywhere rests in Lyra's hands, and time is running out. This is the story of the Celestial Symphony, a tale of courage, destiny, and the unyielding power of dreams. Are you ready to hear it? Lyra stepped into the whispering woods, her breath catching as the air around her shimmered with an otherworldly glow. The trees seemed to hum softly, their leaves rustling with secrets only they could understand. This was no ordinary forest. It was a place where dreams, long abandoned by those who once held them, took on a life of their own. Shapes of light and shadow danced at the edges of her vision, fleeting and elusive, as if the very ground beneath her feet pulsed with the echoes of countless slumbering minds. As she ventured deeper, the path grew darker, the whispers louder. Then she saw it, a towering tree, its bark etched with symbols that seemed to shift and swirl as she approached. This was no ordinary tree. Its branches reached out like ancient arms, and at its base, a face emerged from the bark, weathered and wise. The Keeper of Echoes, as it called itself, spoke in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. You tread where few dare to wander, dreamer, it said, but beware, the Void Wraiths hunger for what you seek. Lyra's heart raced. Void Wraiths. She had heard whispers of their name in stories told by firelight, but never had she imagined they were real. Shadowy entities born from the remnants of forgotten dreams, they thrived in the spaces where hope had faded. The Keeper's words were cryptic, a riddle wrapped in a warning. Trust not the path you see, it said, for the wraiths twist truth into illusion. Only by listening to the echoes of your own heart can you find the way. Her mind spun. Should she heed the Keeper's advice, or trust her instincts to carve her own path? The weight of the decision pressed on her as the forest seemed to close in around her. Time was running out. In the distance, she caught a flicker of light, a hidden portal, its edges shimmering like starlight, but the air grew colder, the shadows deeper. The wraiths were near, their presence a chilling whisper at the edge of her senses. She could feel them, their hunger closing in, as if the very forest itself were conspiring against her. With a deep breath, Lyra made her choice. She would not let fear dictate her path. Clutching the small, glowing pendant around her neck, a gift from her mentor, she stepped toward the portal. The keeper's words echoed in her mind, but so did the resolve in her heart. She would face whatever lay ahead, even if it meant confronting the shadows that sought to consume her. The portal beckoned, its light growing brighter, but the wraiths were faster. Their forms began to materialize, dark and shapeless, their hollow eyes fixed on her. The race was on. The moment Lyra stepped through the portal, the world around her transformed into an endless expanse of shimmering starlit waters, the Astral Sea. The air was alive with a faint hum, as if the very fabric of the cosmos was singing. Waves of light danced across the surface, each ripple carrying whispers of ancient secrets. It was breathtaking, but also overwhelming, and Lyra felt a pang of uncertainty. She wasn't just stepping into a new realm, she was stepping into the unknown. That's when Orion appeared, his silhouette framed by the glow of distant stars. A celestial navigator, he moved with a quiet confidence, as if the currents of the Astral Sea bent to his will. His eyes held the glimmer of countless journeys, and his voice carried the weight of someone who had seen the birth and death of worlds. The Celestial Symphony, he said, his tone both mysterious and inviting. You seek its origins, I can guide you, but Lyra hesitated. Orion's offer felt like a lifeline in this vast, unfamiliar sea, yet something about him made her uneasy. His words were smooth, but his intentions were cloaked in shadows. Was he a guide, or something else entirely? The Astral Sea was no ordinary place. Its currents could lead to enlightenment or destruction, and navigating it required more than just skill. It required trust, and trust was something Lyra wasn't sure she could give. As they set sail on a vessel made of starlight, the tension between them grew. Orion's knowledge of the sea was undeniable. He pointed out constellations that whispered forgotten truths and warned of hidden dangers lurking beneath the luminous waves. Yet, with every piece of wisdom he shared, Lyra's doubts deepened. Could she truly rely on him, or was he leading her astray for reasons she couldn't yet understand? The Astral Sea itself seemed to mirror her inner conflict. At times, the waters were calm, reflecting the gentle glow of the stars above. But in moments of uncertainty, the currents grew turbulent, swirling with chaotic energy. Lyra realized that her journey wasn't just about finding the symphony. It was about confronting her own fears. Could she trust someone else to guide her, or would she have to rely solely on herself? The choice wasn't just about survival, it was about who she was willing to become. As they sailed deeper into the sea, Orion's cryptic words lingered in the air, each one a puzzle waiting to be solved. The symphony, he said, is not just a melody, it is the voice of the cosmos itself. To understand it, you must first understand the harmony, or the discord, within yourself. Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that his words were a test, a challenge to see if she was ready to face what lay ahead. And as the stars above shifted, casting new patterns across the heavens, she knew that her decision, to trust or to go it alone, would shape not only her journey, but the very fate of the symphony. The Astral Sea churned with an eerie, otherworldly energy as the Void Wraiths descended upon Lyra and Orion's vessel. These spectral creatures, born of the void itself, tore through the fabric of the cosmos with their jagged, ethereal claws. The air crackled with tension as the two heroes stood back to back, their resolve unshaken even as the ship groaned under the assault. Orion's blade flashed like a comet, slicing through the wraiths with precision, while Lyra's fingers danced over the ship's controls, weaving a defensive pattern to shield them from the onslaught. But the battle was relentless, and the ship's hull began to splinter under the strain. In the chaos, a faint glimmer caught Lyra's eye, a shard of the Celestial Symphony, embedded deep within the ship's mast. It pulsed with a gentle, golden light, as if whispering to her. Without hesitation, she reached for it, her fingers brushing against its surface. The moment she touched the shard, a surge of power rippled through her, filling her with a melody that seemed to echo across the stars. The wraiths recoiled, their forms flickering like flames caught in a sudden wind. Lyra raised the shard high, and its light expanded into a radiant shield, forcing the creatures to retreat into the void. The victory was bittersweet. Though the wraiths were gone, the ship was battered, its mast cracked and its sails torn. Yet as the light of the shard dimmed, Lyra felt something shift within her, a deeper connection to the symphony, as if its song now resonated in her very soul. But this newfound bond came with a cost. Far beyond the edges of the Astral Sea, in the darkest reaches of the cosmos, the Void King stirred. His ancient, malevolent gaze turned toward the faint echo of the symphony's power, and a shadow began to stretch across the stars. The battle was far from over. As Lyra and Orion soar through the starlit skies, Orion's voice grows solemn. Long ago, he begins, the Void King sought the Celestial Symphony. He believed its power could bend the wills of all dreamers, trapping them in eternal slumber. If he had succeeded, the realm of dreams would have become a prison, and the stars themselves would have dimmed to ash. Lyra's heart tightens as the weight of his words sinks in. This isn't just about saving her village and Amor. It's about protecting the freedom of every dreamer, everywhere. Their journey leads them to the Isle of Echoes, a shimmering land where the air hums with faint, haunting melodies. Here, the first note of the symphony is said to rest, hidden among the whispers of the wind. But as they descend, Lyra notices something unsettling. The island is eerily still, its colors muted, its sounds hollow. Orion explains, the Dreamless guard this place. Once, they were dreamers like us, but they chose to abandon their dreams, fearing the pain that came with hope. Now, they live in silence, guarding the symphony's first note as if it were a relic of their past. Lyra steps forward, determined to reach the note, but she is met by the dreamless, pale, shadowy figures with empty eyes. Their leader, a tall figure with a voice like distant thunder, steps forward. Why should we entrust the note to you? He demands. Dreams bring chaos. They bring longing. They bring heartache. What makes you worthy of carrying such power? Lyra hesitates, feeling the weight of his words. How can she convince those who have forsaken dreams to believe in her cause? She knows she must find a way to reignite the spark they've lost, or risk losing the symphony forever. Lyra found herself standing in a vast, shimmering expanse, where time seemed to fold in on itself. The Dreamless had spoken of this place, a trial woven from her own memories, a labyrinth of her deepest joys and sorrows. Her heart pounded as the first vision took shape. She was a child again, laughing under the golden light of a summer sky, her mother's voice humming a melody that felt like home. But as quickly as the warmth enveloped her, it dissolved into darkness. The laughter turned to silence, the golden light to shadows. She was back in the moment She'd lost everything the day the void had taken her family. Tears streamed down her face, but she clenched her fists, refusing to let the pain consume her. Step by step, she walked through the trial, reliving each memory, embracing the joy and enduring the heartbreak. Finally, she emerged, her spirit unbroken, her resolve stronger than ever. The Dreamless nodded in approval, their ethereal forms glowing with newfound respect. "You have proven yourself," they intoned, their voices harmonizing like a soft, celestial choir. From their midst, a single note of light emerged, pulsing with the essence of the symphony. Lyra reached out, her fingers trembling as she touched it. The note resonated within her, filling her with a strange, otherworldly power. But before she could fully grasp its meaning, the ground beneath her feet shuddered. The sky darkened as tendrils of shadow crept across the horizon. Orion's voice cut through the chaos. "The Void King's forces are here," he shouted, his bow already drawn. Lyra's heart raced as she clutched the note of the symphony close, her mind racing with fear and determination. They had no time to fight. They had to run. As they fled the crumbling island, Lyra glanced back at the Dreamless, their forms fading into the mist. She swore silently to herself, vowing to protect the symphony, no matter the cost. Yet, as the weight of the note settled in her chest, doubt crept in. Could she truly bear the responsibility of such power? The symphony was more than a melody. It was the heartbeat of creation itself. And now, its fate rested in her hands. As Lyra and Orion step into the Luminous Canyons, the air itself seems to shimmer with a strange, otherworldly glow. The walls of the canyon ripple with light, bending and twisting like liquid glass, distorting what they see and hear. The very ground beneath their feet shifts, as if the past and future are colliding in this place. It's not just a test of navigation, it's a trial of the soul. Lyra stumbles first, her feet, faltering as an image of her greatest failure, rises before her. She sees herself standing alone, the weight of a choice gone wrong etched into her expression. The canyon's light reflects her pain back at her, amplifying it until it feels unbearable. She clenches her fists, trying to push the vision aside, but the canyon doesn't relent. It feeds on her doubts, her fears, her regrets. Orion, too, is caught in the grip of the canyons. He freezes as a shadowy figure emerges from the light, a memory of someone he once cared for deeply, now lost to time. His voice trembles as he tries to speak, but the words won't come. The canyon whispers to him, a relentless echo of what might have been. Their vulnerabilities are laid bare, and the tension between them grows. Lyra snaps at Orion, her frustration boiling over as she accuses him of holding them back. Orion fires back, his voice sharp with anger, but beneath it lies a deep, unspoken pain. The canyons don't just show them illusions. They amplify their fears, their insecurities, their unresolved wounds. But even as the light twists and distorts, there's a strange beauty to it. The canyons don't just reveal pain, they reveal truth. Lyra begins to see that her failures don't define her, but shape her. Orion starts to understand that his past isn't a chain, but a lesson. The illusions are harsh, but they're also a mirror, reflecting not just their fears, but their strength. Together, they begin to navigate the chaos. Lyra takes Orion's hand, her grip firm despite the trembling in her own. Orion nods, his jaw set with determination. They move forward, step by step, their voices steady as they remind each other of what's real. The canyons still twist and turn, but the illusions lose their power as Lyra and Orion find their footing, not just in the canyon, but within themselves. And then, through the shifting light, they see it, a faint, pulsing glow that hums with the resonance of the Celestial Symphony. The second note is close, but the journey to it is far from over. The canyons have tested their resolve, but they've also shown them something vital, that even in the face of their deepest fears, they are stronger together. The light ahead beckons, and with it, the promise of what lies beyond the illusions. As Lyra and Orion ventured deeper into the cosmic expanse, the air grew thick with an otherworldly energy, crackling like distant stars colliding. Ahead, perched on a shimmering asteroid, was the Starlight Phoenix, its feathers ablaze with fragments of galaxies. Its eyes glowed like twin suns, piercing and ancient, as it spread its wings, revealing constellations woven into its plumage. The creature's voice echoed like a melody from the dawn of time, demanding a price for the second note of the Celestial Symphony, a cherished memory, one tied to the heart. Lyra stepped forward without hesitation, her voice steady but trembling with emotion. She offered a memory of her mother, a fleeting moment from her childhood when her mother had sung her to sleep under a sky full of stars. The memory was precious, a fragment of warmth in the cold void of space, and Lyra's eyes glistened as she prepared to let it go. But before the Phoenix could claim its prize, Orion stepped in, his voice firm and resolute. "Take mine instead," he said, offering a memory of his own. The Phoenix tilted its head, intrigued, and accepted Orion's offering. In an instant, a shimmering thread of light passed from Orion to the celestial beast, and the second note of the symphony floated free, resonating with a hauntingly beautiful tone. As the note settled into Lyra's hands, she turned to Orion, her gratitude mingling with curiosity. "Why?" she asked softly. "Why would you give up something so personal?" Orion's gaze was distant, his usual confidence replaced by a flicker of vulnerability. "Some memories are too heavy to carry," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. The moment deepened their bond, a silent understanding passing between them. Yet, as they continued their journey, Lyra couldn't shake the feeling that Orion was holding something back. His evasive answers and the shadows that crossed his face when he thought she wasn't looking only fueled her suspicions. What memory had he sacrificed? And what was he hiding about his past? The questions lingered, unspoken but ever present, as the stars above seemed to whisper secrets only Orion could hear. The tension in the cosmos thickened as the Void King's forces descended once more, this time under the command of Nyx, his most cunning lieutenant. Nyx, cloaked in shadows that seemed to swallow the stars themselves, stood before Lyra and Orion with a chilling smirk. Her voice, sharp as a blade, cut through the silence, revealing a secret that shattered Lyra's trust. "Did you think he was always your ally?" Nyx hissed, her gaze fixed on Orion. "He was once the Void King's servant, sent to find the symphony long before you ever dreamed of its power." Lyra's heart sank as she turned to Orion, searching his eyes for denial. But he could only lower his gaze, confirming the truth. Betrayal weighed heavy in the air, and for a moment, the bond they had built seemed to crumble. Orion had been an instrument of the very darkness they now fought against. The revelation left Lyra torn between the pain of his deception and the hope that he had truly changed. Nyx seized the moment, taunting Lyra with venomous words. How can you trust someone who once served the very enemy you seek to destroy? The question lingered, a poison that threatened to unravel their alliance. Yet, as the chaos of battle raged around them, Lyra faced a choice. She could leave Orion to his past, abandoning him to the shadows of his mistakes. Or she could look beyond the betrayal, to the courage and loyalty he had shown since joining her quest. In a moment that seemed to stretch across eternity, Lyra made her decision. We all carry shadows, she said, her voice steady despite the storm within. But it's what we choose to do with the light that defines us. She chose to trust Orion, not because his past was unblemished, but because she believed in the strength of their shared purpose. Still, the bond between them was no longer unshakable. A fragile thread now connected them, one that could easily snap under the weight of doubt or fear. As Nyx's forces retreated, the air between Lyra and Orion remained heavy with unspoken words. Their journey was far from over, but the road ahead was now fraught with uncertainty. Could they truly fight side by side, or would the cracks in their alliance widen until it could no longer hold? The answer lay in the stars, waiting to be revealed. The veil of shadows stretched before Lyra like an endless void, its air thick with a chilling mist that seemed to whisper doubts into her very soul. This was a realm untouched by light, where despair clung to every shadow and hope felt like a distant memory. As she stepped further into the gloom, the weight of the darkness pressed down on her, and for the first time, she felt her resolve flicker. The symphony's third note was here, but finding it would require more than strength. It would demand courage she wasn't sure she still had. Then, faint cries reached her ears, pulling her deeper into the veil. She stumbled upon a group of dreamers, their faces etched with fear, trapped in nightmares that refused to release them. These were not mere illusions but real souls, lost and suffering, their dreams twisted into prisons. Lyra's heart ached at the sight, and though her own journey felt perilous, she couldn't turn away. She knelt beside them, speaking softly, her voice cutting through the darkness like a fragile beam of light. One by one, she helped them confront their fears, guiding them toward the edges of their nightmares until they found their way to freedom. It was in this act of selfless compassion that the third note of the Celestial Symphony revealed itself. A soft, resonant tone echoed through the veil, its melody both haunting and beautiful, as if born from the very act of Lyra's kindness. But as the note settled into her being, she felt a strange heaviness, as though the darkness had taken a piece of her in return. Her steps faltered, her vision blurred, and she realized that the veil's shadows were not just around her, they were now within her. The note was hers, but the cost of its awakening left her weakened, her light dimmed by the weight of the realm's despair. As Lyra and Orion ventured deeper into the veil, the air grew heavier, thick with an eerie stillness that seemed to press against their very souls. It was here, in this shadowed realm, that Nyx revealed herself, her form a swirling mass of darkness, her voice a chilling whisper that cut through the silence like a blade. Without warning, she struck, her power binding Orion in an inescapable grip. The symphony, she demanded, her tone cold and unyielding. "Give it to me, or watch him perish." Lyra's heart raced, her mind torn between two impossible paths. The symphony, the very essence of creation, was not hers to surrender, yet the thought of losing Orion was unbearable. She stood frozen, the weight of the choice pressing down on her like a collapsing star. But then, something within her shifted. The symphony, pulsing softly in her hands, seemed to hum with a quiet assurance, as if urging her to trust its power. With a deep breath, Lyra made her decision. She would not yield to Nyx's demands. Instead, she called upon the symphony's radiant energy, its light bursting forth in a brilliant cascade that shattered Nyx's hold on Orion. The force of the act left Lyra trembling, her strength ebbing away, but her determination burned brighter than ever. She had chosen to fight, not just for Orion, but for the fate of all creation. Orion, now free, turned to her with a mixture of gratitude and concern. "You shouldn't have risked yourself," he said, his voice heavy with emotion, but Lyra met his gaze with unwavering resolve. "This isn't just about us," she replied. "The symphony belongs to the cosmos, and if we don't protect it, who will?" The encounter left them both shaken, but it also solidified their purpose. Nyx's ambush had tested Lyra's courage and her belief in the symphony's power, and she had risen to the challenge. Though the journey ahead would only grow more perilous, Lyra's resolve was unbreakable. Together, they pressed on, the symphony's light guiding them through the veil's endless shadows. As the soft hum of the cosmos surrounded them, Orion's voice broke the silence, heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. "Lyra," he began, his tone steady yet laced with regret. "There's something I must tell you. My past is not what it seems. I've made mistakes, choices that brought darkness where there should have been light. But I swear to you now, I will do whatever it takes to help you complete the symphony." His words hung in the air, a sincere promise wrapped in the humility of redemption. Lyra, though taken aback, saw the resolve in his eyes and nodded. Together, they turned their gaze toward the horizon, where the celestial spire loomed, its towering form a beacon of light and sound. The spire was unlike anything they had ever encountered. Its walls shimmered with melodies, and its very essence seemed to pulse with the rhythm of the universe. Yet, as they drew closer, they realized it was no ordinary structure. The spire was a labyrinth, a place of trials designed to test not just their wits, but the strength of their bond. Each step forward brought them face to face with intricate puzzles, patterns of light that shifted with every movement, harmonies that required perfect synchronization, and riddles that demanded both logic and intuition. At first, their partnership flourished. Lyra's creativity and Orion's analytical mind complemented each other, allowing them to navigate the spire's initial challenges with ease. But as the trials grew more complex, so did the tension between them. A misstep here, a misunderstood clue, their small cracks began to form in their trust. One moment, they were in perfect harmony. The next, frustration threatened to pull them apart. "We have to trust each other," Lyra urged, her voice steady despite the rising stakes. Orion hesitated, his past doubts creeping in, but he soon met her gaze with renewed determination. "You're right, we're stronger together." The spire seemed to sense their resolve, for the final trial awaited them at its pinnacle. A chamber bathed in ethereal light, where the last note of the symphony was said to reside. But to reach it, they would need to rely on each other in ways they never had before. The path was fraught with illusions, each one designed to test their unity. Would they succumb to doubt, or would they rise above it, proving that even the deepest scars could be healed through trust? The answer lay in the choices they would make, and the symphony's completion depended on their ability to see beyond themselves. At the heart of the spire, surrounded by swirling constellations of light and shadow, Lyra and her companions finally come face to face with the source of the Celestial Symphony. There, standing amidst a cascade of shimmering notes, is the Maestro, a figure both awe-inspiring and enigmatic. His presence is like a melody you can't quite place, familiar yet otherworldly. He turns to them, his eyes filled with the weight of countless ages, and speaks with a voice that seems to resonate through the very fabric of existence. The symphony was never meant to be completed, the Maestro reveals, his tone a blend of sorrow and resolve. Its power is too vast, too unpredictable. To finish, it would risk unraveling the delicate balance between dreams and reality, plunging both into chaos. His words hang in the air, heavy with implication. For Lyra, this is the moment she's been dreading, a crossroads where her mission and her conscience collide. She looks down at the final note, glimmering faintly in her hands. It feels alive, pulsing with energy, as if it knows the decision she must make. Her companions exchange uneasy glances, their loyalty to her warring with the gravity of the Maestro's warning. Lyra, one of them, whispers, "This isn't just about us anymore. This could change everything." The weight of responsibility presses down on her, a burden she never asked for but now must bear. The Maestro steps closer, his voice softening. "You have journeyed far, Lyra, and your courage is undeniable. But sometimes the greatest act of bravery is knowing when to let go." The symphony's beauty lies in its incompleteness, an eternal reminder of the mysteries that bind our worlds together. To finish, it would be to silence its song forever. His words strike a chord deep within her, stirring doubts she's tried to ignore. Yet, Lyra's resolve wavers as she thinks of all she's sacrificed to reach this moment. The faces of those who believed in her, the dreams she's carried, the promise she made to see this through, all of it tugs at her heart. But the Maestro's warning lingers, a haunting refrain she can't shake. If she completes the symphony, she could unleash forces beyond her control. If she walks away, the dreams of countless dreamers might remain unfulfilled, their hopes forever suspended in the void. The air grows still, the tension palpable. Lyra closes her eyes, her mind racing through the possibilities. What would it mean to defy the Maestro? What would it mean to obey? In this moment of quiet reflection, she realizes the true weight of her choice, not just for herself, but for the worlds she holds in her hands. The final note glows brighter, as if sensing her turmoil, and the spire itself seems to hold its breath, awaiting her decision. Lyra stood at the edge of the spire, the weight of her decision pressing heavily on her shoulders. The final note of the Celestial Symphony shimmered in her hands, a fragile thread of light that could either save her people or unleash unimaginable destruction. She glanced at Orion, his steady gaze offering silent reassurance. Together, they had come this far, and there was no turning back now. The Maestro, his face etched with sorrow, handed her the final note. "This is your choice," he said, his voice trembling. "But remember, every act of creation demands a sacrifice." As Lyra placed the note into the symphony, the air around them seemed to ripple, as if the universe itself held its breath. The music swelled, a cascade of stars and light pouring forth, filling the spire with an otherworldly glow. For a moment, it felt as though hope had triumphed. But then, the ground trembled, and a shadow darker than the void itself emerged. The Void King, awakened by the symphony's completion, rose from the depths, his presence swallowing the light. His voice echoed like thunder. "You dare challenge the balance of existence?" Orion stepped forward, his blade glowing with celestial fire. "We don't just challenge it," he said, his voice steady. "We fight for it." Lyra joined him, her resolve hardening as the symphony's power coursed through her. Together, they stood against the Void King, knowing this battle could be their last. The spire became a battlefield, light and shadow, clashing in a symphony of chaos. Each strike, each note, carried the weight of their courage and the hope of their people. The stakes had never been higher, and failure was not an option. The Void King's assault was relentless, a storm of darkness, crashing against the fragile light of the spire. With every strike, the air trembled, and the very fabric of reality seemed to unravel. Lyra stood firm, her hands trembling as she channeled the Celestial Symphony, its notes weaving a protective barrier around her and Orion. But the symphony, once a harmonious force, now crackled with instability, its power flickering like a dying star. The weight of the Void King's fury pressed down on them, threatening to shatter their fragile defense. In that moment of desperation, Orion turned to Lyra, his eyes filled with resolve. Without a word, he stepped forward, his body glowing with a radiant light. "Go," he urged, his voice steady despite the chaos. "Finish what we started." Before she could protest, Orion surged forward, his energy colliding with the Void King's darkness in a blinding explosion of light and shadow. The sacrifice was swift, brutal, and final. Orion was gone, his presence erased in an instant, but his final act had bought Lyra the precious seconds she needed. Grief crashed over her like a tidal wave, its weight threatening to pull her under. She could feel the emptiness where Orion's light had been, a void that mirrored the one she now faced. But within that sorrow, something else stirred, a fierce, unyielding determination. Orion's sacrifice had not been in vain. His courage became her strength, his memory a beacon guiding her forward. Clenching her fists, Lyra turned her gaze back to the spire, her resolve hardening like tempered steel. The symphony, unstable as it was, still hummed faintly in her hands. She knew what she had to do. The fate of the cosmos rested on her shoulders, and she would not let Orion's sacrifice be for nothing. With a deep breath, she stepped forward, ready to face the darkness once more. The air crackled with energy as Lyra stood before the Void King, the symphony of the cosmos, pulsing in her hands like a living heartbeat. Around them, the stars trembled, their light flickering under the weight of the impending clash. The Void King loomed, a shadowy titan whose very presence seemed to devour the light, his power radiating a cold, unrelenting hunger. But Lyra's resolve never wavered. She knew this was the moment. The symphony had prepared her for the moment when the dreams of countless beings depended on her courage. With a surge of determination, Lyra unleashed the full might of the symphony. A cascade of radiant energy erupted from her, weaving together the melodies of creation and destruction, light and shadow. The Void King countered with a wave of darkness, his power clashing against hers in a deafening explosion that sent shockwaves rippling through the cosmos. Stars were torn from their orbits, and the fabric of reality itself began to fray, unraveling into a chaotic storm of light and shadow. It was a battle of titans, each strike echoing like a thunderclap across the universe. But as the battle raged, Lyra began to sense something deeper. The Void King's power was vast, yes, but it was also hollow, a force built on isolation and emptiness. She realized that brute strength alone could never overcome such a force. The symphony had always been more than a weapon. It was a bridge, a way to connect the dreams and hopes of all living things. And so, in the midst of the chaos, Lyra closed her eyes and reached out with her heart. She called upon the dreams of every being, from the smallest star to the mightiest galaxy, weaving them together into a single, harmonious force. The symphony responded, its melodies swelling into a crescendo that resonated through the cosmos. The Void King's darkness faltered, recoiling as if struck by something it could not comprehend. Lyra's voice rose above the storm, clear and unwavering. "You cannot destroy what you do not understand," she declared. "The dreams of the universe are stronger than your void." With that, she channeled the united power of the symphony, a radiant beam of harmony that pierced through the Void King's shadowy form. The Void King let out a final, anguished cry as his essence unraveled, consumed by the light of unity. The cosmic storm began to subside, the stars slowly regaining their glow as reality stitched itself back together. Lyra stood amidst the calm, the symphony's light fading gently in her hands. She had not just defeated the Void King, she had proven that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, the power of connection and harmony could prevail. And as the universe breathed a collective sigh of relief, Lyra knew that this was only the beginning of a new chapter, one where the symphony's song would continue to guide the dreams of all who dared to hope. The Void King lay defeated, his dark presence dissolving into nothingness, but the cost of victory was far greater than anyone could have foreseen. The Celestial Symphony, once a harmonious force binding the realms together, began to unravel. Its radiant threads of light flickered and frayed, threatening to collapse the very fabric of existence. Lyra stood at the center of this chaos, her heart heavy with the weight of what had to be done. She knew the symphony could not survive without a source of pure, selfless energy, a sacrifice to anchor its power once more. With a quiet resolve, Lyra stepped forward. She closed her eyes, drawing upon the essence of her own being, the very core of who she was. Her voice rose in a soft, melodic whisper, weaving her life force into the symphony's faltering melody. The realms trembled as her energy surged through the cosmic threads, mending the fractures and restoring balance. But as the symphony stabilized, Lyra's form began to fade, her essence dissolving into the stars. In her final moments, she felt the symphony's melody shift. No longer a grand, triumphant anthem, it transformed into something softer, more tender, a lullaby. This new melody drifted through the realms, reaching the hearts of all dreamers. It was a promise, a gentle assurance that their dreams would never be lost again. Lyra's sacrifice became the foundation of a new harmony, one that would endure for eternity. As her vision dimmed, a faint smile touched her lips. She heard the lullaby echoing around her, a soothing refrain that carried her into the stars. Though her physical form was gone, her spirit became part of the symphony itself, forever watching over the realm she had saved. And in the quiet moments between dreams, if you listen closely, you might still hear her song, a reminder of the courage, love, and hope that hold the universe together. Orion, now restored by the boundless energy of the Celestial Symphony, stood amidst the stars with a heart heavy with both gratitude and grief. The melody that had revived him still hummed in his veins, a testament to Lyra's selfless sacrifice. Her final act of courage, giving her essence to reignite the symphony, had not only saved him, but had woven her spirit into the very fabric of the cosmos. Yet, as he gazed at the shimmering tapestry of stars, he felt the weight of her absence like a quiet ache in his soul. He made his way back to Lyra's village, a place now bathed in the soft glow of the symphony's light. The dreamers, once fragmented and lost, had found renewed purpose. They gathered in the village square, their hands weaving threads of starlight into intricate patterns, each one a tribute to Lyra's legacy. As they worked, they whispered her name, sharing stories of her bravery, her kindness, and the way she had inspired them to dream again. Her story became a living tapestry, woven not just into their crafts, but into their very dreams, ensuring her memory would never fade. The symphony's melody, now a constant presence in the universe, echoed through the cosmos like a gentle lullaby. It carried with it the essence of unity, a reminder that even in the face of darkness, the courage of one could ignite the strength of many. As Orion stood among the dreamers, he felt a quiet resolve settle within him. Lyra's sacrifice had not only brought harmony back to the stars, but had also shown him the true power of connection. And as the symphony's notes danced through the night, he knew her light would forever guide them, a beacon of hope in the vast expanse of the cosmos. As the final notes of the Celestial Symphony echo across the cosmos, they carry with them a profound sense of hope, a melody so powerful it becomes a guiding light for dreamers lost in the shadows of their own struggles. Lyra, the celestial weaver, may no longer walk among the stars, but her essence lingers in every dream she touched, every soul she saved. Her legacy is not bound by the limits of time or space. It lives on in the hearts of those who dare to believe in the impossible. The realms, once fractured by chaos, now bask in the harmony she restored. Yet, even in this tranquility, there's a quiet unease, a whisper carried on the cosmic winds. New challenges stir in the distant corners of existence, hinting that the symphony's tale is far from complete. Perhaps Lyra's work was only the beginning, a prelude to something even greater. The stars seem to hum with anticipation, as if waiting for the next chapter to unfold. For now, though, the symphony remains a testament to courage, unity, and the enduring power of dreams. It reminds us that even in our darkest nights, there's always a melody to guide us, a light to lead us forward, and as long as there are dreamers who dare to reach for the stars, the Celestial Symphony will continue to play, its song forever woven into the fabric of the universe.